and the power just went out, so that's how you know it's gonna be a really good Monday. So over the weekend, I had kind of a little realization about why I love plotting and outlining so much. And yes, part of it is that I just enjoy story structure, the concept of it and talking about it. But what I hadn't really realized until this weekend is that a huge part of it is that when I'm writing a book, and I'm especially in the early stage, I need a second brain. Second brain is a term you might hear if you watch or read a lot of productivity content, how to be more productive. I off and on watch those kinds of videos. I enjoy them. The basic idea, at least as far as I understand it, is that you use something, whether it's like a digital, scheduling app or a journal or anything like that, to record thoughts and ideas when you get them, and you free up space in your brain. Which I know might sound kind of silly because obviously when you write something down, it's not like you delete it from your brain, but it just, now that it's recorded somewhere, it relieves any anxiety you have that you might forget it, which I have a lot. Especially when it comes to writing books, you know how it is when you get to that stage early on where you're thinking about it all the time, and all of a sudden all of the characters' backstories are like expanding wildly, and you're starting to make all these connections and you feel kind of almost frantic about it. That's what, to me, that's what contributes to the paralytic fear of not being able to sit down and actually start writing the book, because you don't know where to start because your ideas are zigzagging all over the place. And as far as the second brain thing goes, it's actually the opposite of freeing up space in your brain. I've read studies that show that, for example, people who journal every day are able to recall just, everyday mundane details months later about what happened during that time that they were journaling than people who don't record their thoughts. So it actually improves your memory and helps you hold on to your ideas. So I guess what I'm saying is the realization I had is that I turn to plotting and outlining when I'm having all of that idea explosion in that early part of the stage, because it fulfills that need I have, that kind of frantic feeling that I need to record it all before I forget it. And this is why I love beat sheets especially so much. Like any kind of, whether it's digital or real life, any kind of like board, a storyboard where I can just see all of the story laid out and fill in and add here or there when I get ideas. It gives me that kind of bird's eye view, and it makes this big idea, because a novel is always a big idea, it makes it feel more manageable to me. But with this new mystery book that I'm writing, and I feel like I should give it, I have a title for it. I do not want to share the title yet. I really love the title and I'm gonna be a little precious about it. But for now, let's just call it The Shadow Book. Okay. I'm not plotting it. I don't want to plot it. And honestly, that's not like how all of the ideas are coming to me right now. It's not beat. I have a setup, I have, the dead body, I have kind of a strange murder under weird circumstances where something particularly impossible seeming happens, and I have no idea who did it or why they did it or how they did it. And I'm really looking forward to just kind of writing the story and seeing what happens and figuring things out along the way. What is happening is I have a fairly small cast of characters, probably, I think it's gonna end up being just maybe 10, maybe a dozen characters who for the entire course of the novel are contained in a house. And it's the characters and who they are and their backstories that are like kind of developing at a rapid rate in my brain, and I'm making connections and even seeing little moments between some of them. And that's what's giving me the frantic, get this out of my brain feeling. And when I was in my notebook over the weekend and I was writing a scene, and I was starting to see all of these other characters and their backstories, and it made me want to introduce them in the chapter I was in, even though it was too early to introduce them, just so I could record it. And that's when the realization happened. Like, oh, I just need to write it down. I need to write down, who these characters are. I feel like I need to introduce them and get this little personality tick or whatever out of my head before I forget it. Lights. and more importantly, air conditioning. Okay, so I know after I said all that, you're probably just thinking, okay, so make some character sheets or something or whatever. And I could, and I was kind of thinking, okay, I might flip to the back of the notebook and start jotting ideas about characters, but I don't know, that wasn't quite how I wanted to do it, and I found myself kind of longing for some sort of structural outline, beat sheet kind of thing, even though again, I don't want to plot the book. I don't have any ideas about the plot yet, so no, I definitely don't want to do that. So that brings me to, someone left a comment on my vlog last week, and I have looked everywhere and I can't friggin' find it, so I apologize that I don't know who said this, but somebody recommended, when I said I was writing a mystery, to watch a channel called Fiction Technician, and it's a cozy mystery author named Jane Combs, I believe is her last name. And I love when you guys recommend channels to me because there are so many AuthorTube channels out there that I'm sure I'm completely unaware of. So I went over to check it out, and she's great, guys. I'm thinking about the unpopular writing opinions video, and I think somebody had a complaint that so many AuthorTube channels are focused on YA and fantasy, and sometimes both of those things combined. And you know, we'd like to see more authors that write in different genres. Well, she's a cozy mystery author, and she has a couple of little series, like playlists on her channel that are dedicated to writing mysteries, plotting mysteries, red herrings, suspects, all that kind of fun stuff. And she gets straight to the point, and she has a talent for explaining things in a really clear, concise way that I really appreciate. I know we like to talk about, oh, you know, instructional videos, teaching videos, and writing craft videos. Nobody has anything new to say, honestly, I mean, I know there are some not great craft videos out there, but personally, I mean, I still make them, so I hope people still want to watch them, but I also just really love watching them. I love hearing other writers' takes on topics like red herrings. I have a video about red herrings, but I will watch anybody else's video on it because they might explain it a different way than I did, in a way that makes me like have a realization or go, aha. And Jane does that. I'm going to link up here and also down below one video in particular of hers where she explains the finite number of ways that a locked room mystery is solved or how it's done. And particularly at the end of that video, the way she explains it is like, it's just so to the point and easy to remember. I just thought it was really great. So highly recommend, if you are a mystery writer, please go check her channel out. So she has, in a few of her videos, she includes spreadsheets. She's a spreadsheet person, and I am not a spreadsheet person, so that's why this didn't occur to me until I was watching her video, but she has like a suspect spreadsheet that she makes in order to keep track of those particular characters who are suspected of the murder in the book. And it reminded me of a spreadsheet that I made and that I talked about at the Escape the Plot Forest Summit last fall. Actually, wait, hang on. So in the second book in the Kudo Kids mystery series, The Mystery in Manhattan, this is a series that I co-authored, we actually used this kind of suspect tracking chart in the book because one of the main characters, Andy, he's been like really into reading mystery novels lately, and so he like gets really keen to solve the theft that happens in this book, and he has a way of keeping track of suspects that also helps the reader keep track of the suspects. And I'm flipping through trying to find, so for example, you can see right here the case of the vanishing dress, and he's keeping track of each suspect that you can see here and whether or not they had means, motive, and opportunity to steal this dress that seems like it has mysteriously disappeared. And throughout the book you'll see this chart, and he'll constantly update it if he discovers a new motive, or if there's like a way, if they discover a way that the suspect had the means to actually make the dress disappear, then that's how he keeps track of them. And I was like, oh yeah, I did that in a book, why don't I do that for this? But I really like the way Jane made her spreadsheet more of a descriptive thing and less of a just checklist thing. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna give that a shot. So I am using my whiteboard because I want this to be, I want it to feel flexible. I am not trying to fill this out for every single character right away. I want it to be easy for me to erase or move things around as they come to me. This is the second brain. This is like the second brain for the cast of this book. And what I decided to go with was the motive, of course, whether or not they have a motive, their want or their goal for the book, their need, gotta have that always. Secrets, I love secrets. That's the thing that's really like coming to me most of all in this book is their secrets and their response. By response, I think in her video, Jane specifically meant like what kind of emotional response does this character have when suspicion is turned on them, which is that's a great idea and an interesting way to look at it. I am not quite sure yet because I'm trying not to give too much of what my book is about yet because it's like a wibbly wobbly jello idea and I'm not quite locked in on it yet, but I will say that the murder in question happened 7 years prior to the actual start of the book, and the corpse disappeared. So there's no body, and there's therefore no actual provable murder. No weapon, nothing was ever found. So no one was ever charged. But now 7 years later, a lot of the kind of players involved are reuniting in this house, and not all of them were at the house or anywhere near the murder victim when it happened. So they're not all exactly suspects. And then of course, a few scenes into the novel, there is another disappearance that looks very similar to the one that happened 7 years ago. And that's when like all the suspicion kicks in. I'm doing a poor job of explaining this. I swear I have it more well thought out on that than this. I'm just like being picky with what I share. And so when I think response, I might actually change that on my whiteboard for now, but I'm not quite sure yet if I'm thinking their emotional response to the first murder that happened 7 years ago, or their emotional response to what happens here a few chapters into the book. And to be honest, the second victim, what happens a couple of scenes into the book, I don't know who that victim's going to be yet. So kind of hard for me to know how the other characters are going to emotionally respond to that at this point, but that's okay. I just wanted to get it up on the board to have, you know, for when I do get to that point in the draft where I figure out who I'm gonna knock off. So yeah, that's my plan for right now. The power is back on. It is 18 minutes into Lisa's live stream, which now I can join because I have electricity again. So I'm gonna go hop on there and then spend some time on the whiteboard today and do some writing in my notebook. I am so glad I have air conditioning again, y'all. I just hate summer. I hate it so much. Let's see what we can get done today. Filming this at a distance, hello Rosa, because I don't actually want to show the details of what I wrote, and I'm hoping this won't come out on camera. But you see, I didn't get everything filled in, which is totally fine, but I did get a lot of new ideas just from looking at it set up this way. So seeing the characters like laid out like that, I was able to see certain connections like, oh, these two actually have the same goal, but their motives are very different, and I was able to see like how that would make them clash. I definitely started to see my red herring characters, the ones who are going to really seem like they are guilty of one thing when in fact it's a completely different goal or motive or whatever that's driving them. So that's exciting. That's always fun. I love a good red herring. I've said before, I think you can build a whole mystery around a red herring, and if you don't believe me, just look at Gone Girl and Amy's diary. And then as I was standing back and like observing the board, I started to see scenes like that I hadn't envisioned before. One in particular that made me laugh out loud, and I can't wait to write it. I have no idea where these scenes are going to go, but I had to sit down and I just started writing them down on note cards, just again to get them out of my head, the whole second brain thing. And now I've got a couple of scene ideas that I'm just gonna keep in a little stack here on my desk. And as I'm drafting this book over the next few months, if I ever feel stuck or just I'm not sure what's gonna happen next, I'm gonna go to these cards to remind myself these are the scenes that you were seeing. Maybe one of these can go right now. Again, I don't know where any of them would fall at any point in the book, but I'm even open to maybe drafting this book out of order once I kind of get into it, you know, past that, the whole Act 1, the sort of catalyst stuff. If things get a little muddled and I just am writing one-off scenes here or there, I'm okay with that too, because at some point I'm gonna have to take this notebook and type everything up, in which case it'll be easy to just flip around and find the right order and type it. This is what I'm telling myself. If you've written a novel by hand and it's actually a much bigger pain in the butt to transfer it into a document, please don't tell me that. I'm gonna live in my little bubble right now and tell myself that it's gonna be easy, it's gonna be fine. It's cool if you wanna write it out of order, who cares? Something else I've been doing just to kind of like get myself inspired and motivated is I like watching, you know, I have a Masterclass subscription and I've watched N.K. Jemisin's and Neil Gaiman's and I think R.L. Stein's and Dan Brown's. I've watched a bunch of Masterclasses. I just love watching workshops, guys. And I thought, you know, okay, now that I'm writing a mystery, I should go back on there and you know, watch a mystery author's masterclass. So I started watching David Baldacci's masterclass, and I guess I'm maybe still feeling just a little bit salty about that whole unpopular writing opinions thing where people got judgy about outlining or pantsing and, you know, what you should do, and if you do this you write poorly, blah blah blah. And you know, on this lesson on outlining, let's just hear what David has to say.
Don't sort of hamstring yourself into thinking, I can only do it this way. I have changed the way that I plot my books out over the course of time. I've changed my writing style over the course of time. I think that's a good thing. Writers can evolve too, just like other people in other occupations. The great thing is there's lots of different ways to do it. There's no one way that you have to do it. Lots of writers do it lots of different ways, and you can do it any way that feels most comfortable for you.
Yes. It's been a pretty good writing day. Progress was made. I did add some more to my draft in my notebook, and the effect that I was hoping for, the whole second brain thing, it happened. I found myself slowing down and enjoying the scene, and I did introduce 2 new characters, but they're not even suspect characters. They're these 2 kids in the book that are both ridiculous in their own way. This is just a random side note tangent, but I'm really curious to see what happens when I attempt writing young characters. One is like 16 and one is 12, but not young adults or middle grade, if that makes sense, because this is an adult novel. And at some point, while I do have a protagonist, I do plan on moving to the POVs of the other characters and getting their perspectives as the mystery unfolds. And that includes the 12-year-old character, like she's getting a POV for sure. And I'm just interested in seeing, because you know, you approach it a little bit differently writing a young character when it's not a middle grade novel. And that's just made me think about a whole other, all of this is just so new to me, and I'm equal parts excited and intimidated about trying it. But part of the reason I hesitated for years, why I just like put off the idea of writing not middle grade or young adult, is because one of the things I love the most about middle grade is kind of the whimsy of it, and the fact that while this is not true for all middle grade novels, I feel like it's very true of a lot of them. Your child characters can be very authentic and real feeling, but the adult characters are often caricatures. They're kind of over the top in a way you don't see nearly as often in young adult or adult fiction. Again, that's not for all middle grade novels, but I do think if you look at a lot of middle grade novels, you'll see that that's the case. And I love that. I love writing over the top caricatures. I remember months ago when I said I had the audiobook of The House on the Cerulean Sea, and I had just started it. It was, I think Lindsay Puckett commented below, and she was like, it's like middle grade, but it's adult because of the voice. And I listened to it and I agree. And I think a huge part of it is because the characters are so over the top in a way that feels very middle grade. And that's what I want to write. And a big part of me just kept telling myself, but you can't do that in adult. But you can do that in adult. There are plenty of authors out there who do that. Which, by the way, if you guys have any recommendations of any books out there that have that kind of whimsical tone and over the top caricature characters, please give me recommendations, especially if it's a mystery. I am very much in that place right now. I'm just reading a bunch of mysteries and, you know, getting myself excited about this. So yeah, that would be great. So I'm excited to just have this whiteboard up. I'm going to continue to add to it. It is definitely making me feel a little more, okay, relaxed. This is out of my head and it's up here and I can play with it. There's something I can look at and see a big kind of overview, bird's eye view kind of thing of my story that makes me feel more comfortable pantsing or discovery writing or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, we're just gonna keep working on that and see how it goes. One thing I want to add really quick is I just noticed a few days ago that for some reason, messages that people send me through my website, half of them have been coming into my inbox as per usual, and the other half have been filtered into my promotions folder, which gets so much BS spam that I didn't know they were there because I would never check it. And I went in there a few days ago and saw a bunch of messages from people who contacted me through my website. I am usually really good at email. I respond pretty fast. If you reached out to me through my website and I have not responded, it is probably because it went into my promotions folder and I did not see it, and I'm trying to catch up, but there's a lot of them and I am so very sorry if you have not heard back from me. So my apologies. And second of all, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but ever since I shared that video about my agent leaving, I've had a lot of authors that I don't know reach out to me via email. We've had phone calls. I feel like I've made some friends through this, weirdly. and the overwhelming story that I'm getting and kind of encouragement that I'm getting is, oh, I have been there. I went through the same thing you did, but things are looking up for me now. And I don't know, it just really means a lot to me that I'll be honest with you, when I'm sitting here like right now, I'm just looking at my camera and talking. I wouldn't say I have stage fright. I actually kind of do enjoy public speaking, but when I think about how many people watch these videos as the number continues to go up, it makes me a little, it makes me kind of want to like clam up, and I don't know, it makes me a little nervous. Although I'm also very happy about it and very flattered, so thank you for watching. I don't know, I just want to say, if you've been watching these, thank you so much. If you've been leaving comments, or if you haven't, regardless, thank you so much. And especially to those of you who reached out and shared your own frustrations with publishing, and offered me encouragement. You know, it's working. I really am. I hadn't realized how much it was like bothering me to keep that news kind of like to myself for those few months over the summer, and how much it was contributing to this feeling of panic that I was trying to tamper down. And yeah, talking about it really helps. Hearing from you guys really helps. And I also just am gonna put this out there. I feel like in 2018 specifically, a whole bunch of us just had existential crises together. It was like a mass incident and we didn't know it. All of a sudden, all of our books stopped selling. All of a sudden, it seems to be a phenomenon. And while I hate that it happened, it also is very reassuring to me to know that the black hole wasn't just for me. The black hole was coming for us all. That sounds terrible. I hope you know what I mean. It just means a lot to me to know that, I mean, not that I ever thought I was the only one going through it. Obviously, I knew we weren't, but when I hear all of these individual stories and I see how similar they are to mine, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, so this isn't just me, this is a thing. And that does, while it makes me admittedly nervous about the future, it does help with my confidence issue. It does make me remind me like, okay, it's not you, it's not your writing, it's not your books, this is just how things are going in publishing right now, and I hope it's going to get better for all of us. So that's gonna be it for this vlog. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys Tuesday with another video. Bye.